Good morning. Today is Friday. It's a working day, so we talk politics. Somebody asked me a question. Go to. So you are saying it's wrong for government to close down unscrupulous churches? I said, well, in a democracy and in a multicultural and spiritually diversified society, unscrupulous is relative. These guys are silly. They turn these philosophies on and off as they want. In a true multicultural, spiritually diversified society such as South Africa, scrupulous and unscrupulous are relative, except with regards to the issues of the law. You see, let me give you a short course on politics. In a true democracy, and that's what makes the declarations of the Civil Rights Commissioner and a group of misinformed preachers. That's what makes their claims very ridiculous. In a true democracy is an expression of the will of the people. It's not an expression of the will of God. Listen to me, preacher. Listen to me, a religious man. If you don't understand politics, get out of it. You can never step into a zone where you get angry on behalf of God in a diversified, multicultural society. I raised an important matter with the CEO of the Civil Rights Commission the day we had a discussion at ANCA. And I said, so you are saying you, a secular government, are aggrieved on behalf of God, a God you say does not exist, and you're so aggrieved on his behalf that you're going to take action on his behalf against his servants. And these preachers, like Mr. Eddie Mafaza, they don't understand true democracy. Democracy is not an expression of the will of God. We're talking theocracy when you talk that, God's sovereign rule. Democracy is people expressing their will directly or through their chosen representatives. Listen, and it cuts across all spheres of society. Now, the question that somebody asked me was, now, when you say government should not close these churches, who's going to close these churches? I said the people. Isn't it the will of the people? Government of the people, by the people, through the people. And now that cuts across. All spheres of society. Let me tell you what is the solution to all these churches you don't like. The solution is very simple. The people who patronize them should stop supporting them. There is nothing a democratic government can do without tampering with the constitution to make people stop going to these churches that they think are unscrupulous. Now, let's go back to politics. I hope for the benefit of this discussion, you know the difference between government and state. Government is a political administration. The government has in South Africa, according to the constitution, has a 5-year tenure. Every 5 years, we decide which political administration will administrate the affairs of the state. But the state is a distinct geographic jurisdiction with its own distinct fiscal system, constitution, and independence. So the Republic of South Africa is the state. That remains a constant. We are the Republic of South Africa. And from time to time, we choose different governments. That means the people within a democracy, every 5 years, have an opportunity to express their will regarding who should lead them. The people can rule directly or through the representatives. And since it's more chaotic to rule directly, and we choose our representatives and we put them in office. Now, let's talk politics. The present day administration, the ANC, let's be honest with one another. It keeps shocking South Africans that the ANC keeps coming back into power. With all the rot, with all the collapsing SOEs, with the chaos within politics and all that, people get shocked. But put the ANC aside. People get shocked that the EFF still exists. Now, because there are also that the EFF still exists, because the infighting and all the chaos with where they got the money, people are equally confused as to why the DA still exists. With the racial tension within the DA, we get shocked that the DA is still extending and still the official opposition. Now, the question that should be asked is, why is the ANC still in power? Why is the DA still the official opposition? Why does the EFF still exist? The will of the people. The only legitimate, the only constitutionally sound way of destroying the ANCs, the people must decide not to vote for it. The people must withdraw their support from the DA or the EFF. The will of the people. You can never say the ANC exists by the will of God. You can't say that. God voting them. It's not God voting them back. It's the people. They don't go around praying to God to put them back in power. They go around canvassing. And the only way they can be out of power is if the people stop supporting them. That same principle applies to religion, to any other sphere of society. It's presumptuous, it's unconstitutional for Kaluva and whoever is supporting it to come and say to the people, we don't think this man is treating you well, so we close him down. If the man is not breaking any law, as long as the people support the man, you have no power to impose your will on the will of the people. That's true politics. In true politics, you can never impose the government's desire on the people, because the very government was put in power by the will of the people. So I'm reiterating, call Bushiri. Let's say government thinks Bushiri now is not a good preacher. And how does government close them down? There's no way government can close them down as long as people love Bushiri. Take TB Joshua. You may think he's of God, of the devil, of both. It's immaterial. As long as there's somebody who wakes up on Sunday morning, dresses up and shows up at the TB Joshua meeting, government cannot interfere with that process unless it can be established that between the people and TB Joshua, something criminal is taking place. I remember somebody bring up the issue of TB Joshua the other year. He was saying to me, look at what all you religious people are doing now. The building collapsed on people. I said, listen to me. The people who died at the TB Joshua synagogue in Nigeria, that was not a religious problem. It was a building regulation problem. The people died in a building not authorized according to investigation. It has nothing to do with religion, because buildings collapse on atheists, buildings collapse on Muslims, buildings collapse on traditional Africanists, buildings collapse on anybody. As long as there is no regulation adhered to, you are running the risk of killing people. As long as people wake up and go to that church that made them eat snakes, and they are there for their second helpings, you cannot interfere unless you can prove that it's illegal to eat snakes, it's illegal to feed people snakes, it's illegal to hunt snakes. Lay your hands off religion, because you are violating the very principles of democracy upon which your very government is based. The will of the people must be respected. The will of the people as to where they belong should be respected, because freedom of association is a constitutional right. Now, for government to take one preacher like Reverend Macaulay and his company and say, choose which preachers should be legalized, it's like asking the Ray and other people to approve their competition. Ray and everybody else is competing for the attention of the same people. It's unfair competition. You taking this man who has vested interest and you put him in charge of a process where he determines who his competition is. Where is the fairness there? Let the people decide where they belong, because freedom of association is a constitutional right, is the will of the people. Right now we're going to elections in 2019. It's going to shock many people that maybe the ANC will be back in power. And all the noise that the white media made, all the noise that the foreign media made will be non-essential. As long as the people think the ANC is their party of choice, the ANC will be bare governing. Look at all the cases. I personally would never vote for certain parties. I'll reserve my preferences to myself. But I wonder, well, how do somebody in their right mind support such a party? As long as the people want that party in power, the party will be back in power. Stop infringing on the constitutional rights of the people. I am telling you right now, unless we change the constitution, you can never force me to belong to any peer review structure, any regulatory board. You can never do that because it's my right. And as long as there are 5 people or 6 people who think I'm a man of God, you can never stop us meeting unless you can prove that our meeting is criminal. I thought I should give you that short lecture. My next appointment is phoning.